everyone. I'm Isha Gupta, Director Global Partnerships at C5i. Welcome and thank you for attending this webinar on smarter ad campaigns with C5i Incivus and AWS from the C5i Compass GenAI series. This session is designed for you to get a preview on how AI-driven insights can enhance creativity and ad performance. Discover how C5i Incivus, an ad tech platform built on AWS, predicts winning creatives and optimizes ads for success. You would also get a glimpse of how the C5i AWS partnership enables brands to leverage secure, scalable, and privacy-compliant ad testing solutions. A bit about the host company C5i. C5i is a pure-play AI analytics provider that combines the power of human perspective with AI technology to deliver trustworthy intelligence to clients across the globe. At the core, C5i's focus is to deliver business impact at speed and scale by driving adoption of AI-assisted decision-making. A couple of housekeeping items before we start. So the session would be recorded and a recording would be available on our website for those who have registered for the live. We would have about last 10 minutes dedicated to Q&A. Please feel free to post your questions in the comment section and we would love to answer them during the webinar. In case they're not answered, please send your questions on the email ID mentioned on the slide, and we would get back to you. The webinar would be of about 60 minutes duration, and we hope that you would stay with us. With this, let me introduce the speakers for today. We have Anis Merchant, who's the Global Head of Innovation, IP, and Analytics Consulting at C5i. Anis has guided sizable digital transformation initiatives for numerous global Fortune 500 clients. His current role involves guiding platform innovation, setting the go-to-market strategy, and building the strategic partner ecosystem. Next, we have Chris Forman. Chris is the Partner Development Manager at AWS. A technology enthusiast, Chris closely works with partners like C5i to drive innovation and go-to-market strategy to help scale partnerships for success. Then we have Prachi Doshi. Prachi is a partner solutions architect at AWS, where she collaborates with AWS partners to accelerate their cloud adoption journey and architect scalable solutions. We also have James Spencer, who's also solution architect at AWS, and he would be available through the webinar to answer any queries that you may have. Now, without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Chris to talk about the C5i AWS partnership and get this webinar started. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Isha. Much appreciated. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Farman, the Partner Development Manager for C5i. I've had the privilege of working with the partnership for over 2.5 years. C5i has established themselves as an AWS Advanced Tier partner, demonstrating their expertise in leveraging AWS cloud products for analytics, AI-driven digital transformation, and more. This partnership has culminated in the development of Incivus, an innovative Gen AI-based ad tech platform that represents a significant advancement in digital advertising technology. The partnership's foundation. The collaboration between C5i and AWS is built on a shared vision of transformation, digital advertising through advanced cloud computing and artificial intelligence. As an advanced tier services partner, C5i has proven its efficiency in implementing AWS solutions to drive customer success and innovation in the digital marketplace. The market relevance. The partnership arrives at a crucial time in digital advertising, with worldwide digital ad spending projected to reach $835 billion by 2026. The platform addresses a critical industry challenge as 9 out of 10 marketers are currently struggling to understand what drives their ad success. The AWS C5i partnership represents a significant step forward in digital advertising technology, combining AWS robust cloud infrastructure with C5i's advertising expertise to deliver measurable results in the increasingly important field of AI-powered generated digital advertising consumption. Through this collaboration, both companies are positioned to help marketers navigate the evolving landscape of digital advertising, offering solutions that combine creative excellence with data-driven decision-making. I'm fortunate enough to be working with the partnership.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, The world of, meaning Chris has said enough and about how the world of advertising is changing, but yes, things are changing at a much more rapid pace. And when we talk about rapid pace, there is disruption happening at multiple fronts. While we are talking about how Gen AI and LLMs can help organization help in the entire value chain of ad, we are seeing some of the formidable brands actually taking a leap of faith and launching ads or creating ads using Gen AI capabilities. And we've seen some of them in the last 3 to 4 months. And it's just fascinating, especially somebody who's not creative but is able to use some of these tools to actually show the creative side of my own abilities. It's just fascinating how the world of the ads is getting disrupted through Gen AI. And it's not just the ads, right? It's not just the ad value chain. The platforms itself are looking at, okay, how can we stay relevant, stay current? Some of the latest news coming from Netflix as an example, and even many more players, like how are they trying to adopt or they are trying to drive the new world of creative or the new world of digital, and how that is evolving is just fascinating. As a bystander, as somebody who's involved with many of our clients, it's just fascinating to see how the world of AI and Gen AI is just scaling up in the world of advertisement. And it's not just these ads getting created. As Chris mentioned, the world of spends are also scaling up. Anisha, if you can go on to the next slide. As Chris mentioned, I'm not just going to go ahead and repeat that number, but if you look at year on year, this is one industry which doesn't often get the enough credit of how the spends are shifting and how the spends are moving. But it's just fascinating on how the change is happening at a such rapid pace. Yes, at one point in 2021, we saw a rapid increase because of the wave which we had because of COVID. But after that, it's not come down. The change is year on year being stable, roughly about close to 10%. And we see increasing spends happening on digital platforms. And one of the other challenge which is also happening is an opportunity. There are a variety of ecosystems which are being made available to corporates to go ahead and advertise, which is also leading to a lot of proliferation of opportunities which a corporate can go ahead and advertise their assets, but also go ahead and market and reach to the right buyers, which they intend to do, which were limited in the traditional media. And today, with the AI, they are able to quickly experiment, and we'll talk more about it. Prachi from AWS will talk a little bit more about the value chain and how AI and Gen AI can really disrupt. And I'll not steal that thunder, but that's the space which we are really watching along with AWS in terms of how AI and really see how Gen AI can really be a torchbearer, especially in this industry which is seeing a massive disruption. If you can go on to the next slide, and it's not just while we can see that there is disruption, while we can see there is enough opportunities, there is also bringing in a lot of challenges for corporates. And with many clients we talk to, while everybody can get excited with AI and Gen AI, and as I said, me not being from the creative field or me not being an advertiser myself, today using the tools I can create an ad. If I know a little bit of technology, I can create an ad, or I can create a still ad or a video ad. Either of them are possible, and I can launch an ad on behest of my customers or for my own company, which is C5i here. Now, the challenge which comes in, and we have seen this across through our own analysis, that today, because in the rush we are in, a lot of brand guidelines or brand aesthetics are being missed out. That's one of the key challenge. The other key challenges is that while we are trying to, and most of the marketers we talk to, most of the digital individuals we talk to are day in, day out playing with the different platforms. Every platform is trying to enhance in terms of how they can make the reach possible to the end consumers, which the corporates are trying to spend money on. They are changing their algorithms. So a lot of time by digital advertisers is being spent on ensuring and managing whether the algorithms are right, ensuring that they are able to target the right group. They are also focused a lot on the ROI, because everything you spend, there is a clear measure of an outcome which is expected from a digital advertiser. So there is a lot of focus being spent on the algorithms, whom to target, when to target, what is the kind of ROI. And often than not, we have seen, and there is data backed up behind this, that the creative, which is almost 70% of an ad anatomy, is an afterthought, and especially in digital is an afterthought. And I'm sure many of you who are in the world of digital advertising, you all have been in that space. While your entire planning for a campaign or an advertising is in flight, when you have 2 days or one day, hey, we don't have the right creative, or we have that creative but it is not optimized for X platform or a Y platform or for a Z platform or for an A platform. You have to go ahead and optimize it, and there is this last minute rush, and you cook up something and you bring up something and you try to launch it. And we have seen with many of our clients that those ads really fail. And today there has not been enough measurement in terms of did the creative really work or didn't work. Now, while I speak about these challenges from a corporate lens, if you think about consumers, like all of us on this call or on this webinar, and people who are going to listen after the session as well, we all are prime targets for everyone who has a money to spend to gain our attention. Now, I often throw these numbers out, or often do a Q&A with many of my clients whom I'm having a conversation around this topic. If you have to take a wild guess, who's the biggest ad spender? If you take any country around the world and think about who's the biggest ad spender, you will often come with a wrong answer. And you may not be right with the people whom you think, or the corporates whom you think may be advertising the most, will be in the top 10 or top 100. And I would encourage you to go ahead and look up on many of these open data platforms which exist, whether it is by Amazon, whether it is by Meta or by Google or by many of them, where the data are being published, like who are the biggest ad spenders in the last 1 year or 5 years. You'll be surprised by the people who show up in that list. And I don't want to take names here, but you'll be surprised, and you will not find your atypical corporate, which you would think will be the biggest advertiser. You would not even see them in the list. And the reason why I'm bringing this topic about, all of us today cringe when we see an ad. We all are fatigued with the ads. Given an opportunity, you would immediately skip an ad, or you're just waiting desperately, when can I hit that skip button when that skip button shows up or gets activated. So as consumers, we are fatigued. So how do you, for a corporate, more importantly, how you get the right attention? How do you ensure that you are able to go ahead and attain and meet the customer demand at the right point of the journey, where they are really trying to buy a product or thinking of buying a product, or there is an intent of making a purchase either on a product or a service which they intend to go ahead and engage with. So that's the challenge which we have been evaluating. Naturally, there is an opportunity that the digital advertising is focused on, but we also see that there are enough challenges in the industry. These are some of them which we call out, and definitely we see a big potential on how we see how can AI and Gen AI really solve for that. But before I go ahead, I would like to invite Prachi. Prachi, do you see the same thing? Does Amazon see the same thing? What I just spoke about, the opportunities or challenges, what in the market right now when you talk to your clients, or when Amazon or AWS is talking to its customers, whether ad tech companies or advertisers both?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Anis. Definitely at Amazon as well, or at AWS as a whole as well. When we look at how companies, and especially at tech companies, are investing more and more, as we saw when it comes to digital ad spends, as well as looking at some of the current challenges that these companies or customers are facing when it comes to digital ad optimization, that I just very briefly spoke about. It all ties into some of these Gen AI trends that AWS has put together, that we are observing when we talk to our customers or our partners who work in this industry, right? So, to name a few, some of the top Gen AI trends that we are currently observing when it comes to advertising and marketing industry, and that's shaping the industry. The first one here we have is reducing time and effort that is needed to create high quality campaigns and content. And by what I mean by this is we are seeing more and more adoption or more and more need of Gen AI solutions when it comes to, say, accelerating content creation or automating routine, as well as enabling high speed iteration and testing of these creative concepts, right? And then the second trend that we are seeing here is, of course, enhancing and personalizing customer experiences, and which is basically focused on leveraging new Gen AI solutions to enable true one on one personalization at scale. So we all know like personalization works, but to be able to do that at a scale for millions of customers and over millions of data, that is somewhere we are seeing adoption, great adoption or potential of adoption when it comes to Gen AI solution, right? In order to improve our customer engagement by analyzing that user behavior data, which can basically help us target more accurately, as well as make us create more relevant content and creatives when it comes to brands. And lastly, the third trend that we are observing here is better support for content monetization. So your generative AI is basically used to say monetize content more effectively for brands. For example, like enabling automated content optimization for different platforms and different formats that we want to target. As well as helping brands at the same time and customers to identify like highest value opportunities for their content and marketing. So these are the top trends that we are observing. If can we move to the next? Yeah. And now building off of these trends, what are the top use cases that we are observing when it comes to Gen AI and advertising, right? So the first one here we have is, as I spoke about, based off the first trend, which is to have creative generation and optimization, right? This is for, as I mentioned, for rapid generation and iteration of creatives, test different versions of the creatives using A/B testing or any other rapid iteration methods at lower costs, as well as improving brand consistency all at the same time. The second one, as we saw, is personalization and customer experience for basically enabling personalization at scale. When I mentioned when we have to deal with data from millions of customers, perform user behavior analytics at scale. So using generative AI solutions that analyzes this behavior and data in real time so that we are able to deliver like personalized experiences in real time in order to drive customer engagement. The third one we have here is audience analysis and segmentation. But here, with the help of Gen AI, now we want to perform smarter audience analysis. So instead of doing the traditional demographic segmentation, brands are now focusing more on doing smarter analysis to help them predict behaviors and user responses in advance, as well as help them some solutions that can help them target customers more effectively. And this can be done by, again, Gen AI solutions that can help us spot patterns in this customer data and user behavior instead of just traditional demographic segments. And the next one here is content. Along with content monetization, we have contextual advertising. So this is basically, as the name suggests, for better targeting solutions that can leverage AI to place, say, ads in your advertisements or your branding or your creatives in relevant content, as well as while complying with the privacy laws. So targeting relevant platforms, creating relevant content, as well as all while doing and complying with the privacy laws. And finally, last but not the least, we of course have brand safety. So again, now more than ever, with the increased speed of generating with Gen AI in place, we do see a need from customers for automated screening tools to help them their content, identify potential issues before they go live with a campaign or a creative or just a simple static ad, as well as help them screen their creatives to align with their brand guidelines. So as you can see, all of these use cases that we saw, they help us address some of the critical challenges and some of those challenges that Anis mentioned when it comes to advertising and marketing industries. And with that in mind, I would also like to now take a look at how Gen AI is affecting all of these areas of advertising and marketing as well as edtech as a whole. And we'll try to do this by putting like a campaign lifecycle and a measurement and audience analytics lens on it. So first, as you can see on your screen, we'll try to take a look at from the campaign lifecycle lens. As you can see here, we've tried to divide, on a high level, we've tried to divide campaign into different phases, which is campaign planning, campaign setup, campaign optimization, and campaign measurement, right? And under each of these phases, that we have then different areas that different based on different tasks and personas that work on these different phases of campaign. And now, if we take the problems that we are facing currently in each of these areas and place generative AI, potential generative AI, or existing Gen AI solutions in the context of this campaign lifecycle, this is where we land. Like this is how this is something that it looks like. And again, if we take a step further and if we rate each of these solutions based on, say, their ease of deployment, which is indicated by the orange measure there across each of these use cases, and the value or the impact that it would have to the company where if we implement this solution for them, which is again indicated by the white bar that you can see or the white graph across each of these use cases, we come across 4 items which are highly rated based on ease of deployment and high value. For example, ad placement optimization, content personalization, and ad effectiveness. And these are all solutions that are like easy to deploy, and we do have some solutions currently in place from partners from AWS in these areas. Similarly, Isha, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. Similarly, again, if we try to put an audience and measurement lens here, we are able to group the tasks loosely based on, again, campaign phases, which is pre-campaign and mid-campaign and post-campaign. And naturally, some of the tasks under each of the areas of these campaign phases can be performed at multiple stages, but then this still helps us provide a perspective on how generative AI solutions might align and affect different tasks and personas. So when we perform similar ranking like the previous slide here as well, based on how easy it is to deploy these tasks with a view of how high the value is, we can very quickly see that some of the tasks around creating surveys and personalizing them, as well as summarization, which acts as a key task across some of these areas, can help us which can help us extract, say, insights from your websites or blogs, research studies, you name it. And if you notice, again, as I previously mentioned, some of the tasks that are highlighted in gray and that are being solved currently are for solutions that are easy to deploy and which show high value, which makes us think and which makes us move to our next topic, that so how do we add value here, right? When we consider these challenges and this potential Gen AI solutions that can affect different, say, life cycle phases of advertising industry or advertising process. So basically the answer here is that we need tools that we can trust and that provides outputs in line of what brands currently need and what customers currently need, and is also in alignment with things that the brands are looking forward to measure to make their campaigns and their creatives successful. Which means that we need a solution that addresses these gaps and challenges in market, which are of high perceived value, but are also hard to solve at the same time. So with that thought in mind, if we take a look at this campaign lifecycle again and re-rank the task and the solutions based on the difficulty with a view that the value is still high, we'll see that our focus gradually shifts towards some of the solutions that we can develop or deploy that can help with some of the difficult use cases like brand image protection under campaign planning, personalized ad adjustments for campaign optimization, or even content detection when it comes to campaign measurement, right? So that we're able to provide most value to our customers at each stage of campaign planning and creatives planning. And similarly, if we look at through the insights and measurement lens again, so if you move to the next slide, and if we re-rank again some of these use cases for the measurements from the measurements lens and rate it by difficulty, we see that the customers could really benefit from having some solutions that can address some of these use cases around synthetic panelists when it comes to sampling and deduplication for pre-campaign phases, or even content personalization and dynamic ad adjustments for optimization during mid and post campaign phases, right? And this is exactly AWS partners like C5i, with their industry experience on working in this industry and over these use cases, along with their solutions like Incivus, come into play. And today we are going to, as I mentioned, we're going to look at one of such solutions from C5i, which is Incivus, that addresses some of these hard to implement use cases for the customers, and along with some of the necessary use cases in order to provide most value to the customer as a whole. So to talk in detail about the Incivus solution, how it's powered by AWS and built on AWS, I'll pass it on to Anis. So Anis, over to you.
Thanks, Prachi, for giving a good visibility into the entire ad and campaign lifecycle. Now, to build on what Prachi was saying, I think we are fortunate enough to be working with AWS. And Isha, we can go on to the next slide. For quite some time, I know there is a lot of buzz about GenAI when some of the language models really came out in the market and everybody went ballistic, and then the image models and then the video models came about. I just want to share that we've been partnering and we've been working with AWS over 3 years. So it's not something which we started off because language models came in, because video models came in, or because Amazon launched Bedrock and using Bedrock, we just built a wrapper around it. Has been going on over the last 3 years. And I just want to share that many of the early work which we have done is that typical grunt work when really configuring SageMaker as an example to really build and custom build these models right from ground up, because many of these, though models existed, but it was not just today you can write a prompt and you can get an answer. That didn't exist at that time, and it required a lot of configuration and we'll not get into the Today we will not have time, but if you have any questions, you have James who can go ahead and help you out on those questions today. But I just want to say, and what I will show today, and I will show some part of it today, it's not something which we have worked with AWS over the last 6 months or 9 months. It's been a journey over the last 3 years. We've been at it. And over the last 3 years, we are very happy to share the different value propositions across the campaign lifecycle. As Prachi highlighted, we have made it available today for our clients. Right from before the ad is actually getting created, when I say ad, think about like a finished image or a video. You today have a capability to do a lot of concept testing of your images, of your ad concepts itself using synthetic. And we have propositions and we have built a solution in service to do that. If your ad is ready to go live, you can actually test, and we'll show some examples today. I will only be able to show pre-testing today because it will take me 2 hours to just show all the features. But just think about pre-flight testing, in-flight, and post-flight. Today, to get an ad tested, it may take you 6 weeks or 8 weeks. We can do this in less than 2 hours today. That's the beauty of AI, and that's the beauty. Yes, when we started off, it didn't take us 2 hours. It took us much more time. The technology was not that advanced. But working with AWS, we've been able to go ahead and optimize our infrastructure, optimize the capabilities, and today we are able to do it much more faster and provide that result. Just the time to market from 6 weeks to 2 hours, many of our clients are using it. They're just able to scale the effort and have a more refined approach when they're going in and deploying their ads rather than doing a guesswork, hey, whether this creator is going to work or not work. And I will show you what kind of level of confidence we are able to provide. In addition, and I saw there is a question actually coming from one of the audience, can I benchmark my ad in the industry? In fact, Incivus allows you to do a benchmark, and we are able to give you benchmarks in 4 levels. We have a global benchmark, which allows you to go ahead and understand whether your ad will declutter from all the advertisers who are there. Maybe it's a political institution, it's a non-profit, it's a retail or a consumer good or a manufacturing. It can be any company. Is your ad going to declutter from that benchmark or from that global score which we have? Then you can have an industry benchmark. If you're a part of retail or if you're part of technology, you can have a technology benchmark. You can have a category benchmark. So let's say within retail, you're an apparel, you can have an apparel level benchmark. You can have a in technology, you can have a laptop specific benchmark. Or in brand, let's say you yourself as a brand can have a brand benchmark. For many of our clients who are large global customers, they have sub brands. You can do it at a sub level brand benchmark also. In addition to that, we are also allowing you, because of the learning, and in fact we'll show you some case studies. Many of our clients have said, hey, take all the last 2 years of data and can you help us create a creative playbook? Today, our brand playbook and creative playbook is done from a creative angle. Can it be data oriented? And as I said, I can do a 2 hour conversation around this, but this is the kind of knowledge management. Plus, we can do actual content production today, where it is static and dynamic. We can create a lot of abstract. We can also do a lot of product content generation, modification, language, globalization, localization of the content, channel specific modifications. Today, you will have army of people, or you will have your creative teams who would do this manually. We have been able to build and scale this for many of our customers at a fraction of a cost. And all of this combined, how can you do orchestrations and integrations and automations with your DAM platform, which is your digital asset management platforms, or with your ad serve platforms or your display service providers. But all in all, we can also do a lot of analytics, right? Whether it's your MMMs, and how can today, when we do MMMs as an example, or market mix models or campaign, you're looking at campaign outcomes. But today, with the amount of data on the creative, which can be ingested into your marketing mix, makes your marketing mix much more powerful. And that's part of the overall proposition which we can offer, which we do offer to many of our clients. So I know there is a lot in PowerPoint. I know there is a lot of eagerness, and I'll get to some of the slides here, but I do have some more slides. I want to get to the demo. So Isha, what we'll do is we'll come to these slides again. Let me go ahead, start sharing my screen so that we can show the platform. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who've interested. So if you all can give me access to the presenter. So as I said, I will be able to showcase to all of you today just the pre-test. And if we have time, I'll be able to do an A/B test as well. Now, this is an example. This is a demo environment. This is a demo environment for Procter and Gamble. Now, I'm not going to confirm or say yes or no that they are a customer, but this is a demo environment for Procter and Gamble where we've taken their publicly available ads and we've uploaded them on our platform. And once the ad gets uploaded, you can go ahead and get the test results. Now, naturally, if you're typically, we can get this platform set up within a week. And that week is basically we look at your past historical ads. We look for meta integration or any of your digital ad serving platforms. We will integrate with that. Plus, we will look for your brand guidelines and all of that. Now, naturally, we will not be able to show all of that because we don't have an explicit approval from any of our customers to show a live demo of what they are doing. But this is a demo environment, so I can't show the meta integration, as I said. So that's why we will only restrict it to the pre-flight and the A/B testing. But let's say if you've uploaded an ad, and this is pretty much DIY, you can do it yourself. You don't need us. Once we set it up, you can have you or your team go ahead and use the platform. And let's say you've uploaded it and you get a notification that the ad has been processed. You would typically click on this report. Okay, that just confirms we have a good data security, that after some time we get logged off through the platform. And by the way, we can do both type of creatives. We can do static as well as video. So you can see there are display ads as well as video ads. So I'll just give an example of display ad here. Once you upload the ad, this is the first piece which you see here. This is the first screen which you will see here. And the first score which you will see is the creative effectiveness score. Now, creative effectiveness score is a composite score, which basically tells you and benchmarks your overall ad at a specific number. So think about it like a net promoter score or any of the scores. Similarly, creative effectiveness score is that single score, which helps many of our clients to take a decision or a go no go decision on an ad. Now, in this case, this is 84.27. Now, as I was talking about benchmarks, right now, the global benchmark, which we refresh every 6 months, is at a score of 75. Now, what does that mean? All the ads which we have, and we have 100,000 plus ads, and we keep pumping more and more ads on a daily, weekly, monthly, and our clients who are using the platform, they keep pumping the ads based on those ads which have been tested, and we keep refreshing these benchmarks because ad types keep changing every week, every month, every quarter, depending upon the mood and the sentiments in the air. We have to keep ensuring that the benchmarks are relevant. So this right now, the 75 is a good standard or a good benchmark for any of the ads. So right now, if I have to look at it from a global standard, this specific ad of PNG is a good score. So PNG will say, okay, we can launch it. But no, if we go ahead and in the live environment, which you will see, you will also have industry specific benchmark, and you will have a category company or a brand specific benchmark. So let's say this is Pampers, and PNG has gone ahead and created a industry benchmark for, let's say, consumer goods, and then they have either created a category benchmark, let's say personal care, or they have created a category, let's say, for Pampers or baby products. Now, those two scores can become very interesting. And we know some of the details which we have seen with our clients. So let's say from a global 84.27 is good, but from a industry benchmark, from a consumer, and we know that the current industry benchmark for consumer good is at 69. So again, you're good. But then for a brand, let's say, or a category, the benchmark is at 90. Then while you're able to declutter your ad from the global ads, you're able to declutter your ads or at least stay ahead of what the overall industry score is. But your competition ads or your own company standards, if it's a brand, which is your own company standard, is at 90 and you are at 84.27, then you really have to take that decision. It doesn't meet my company standards or my brand standards. I don't want to launch this ad. Now, this is how this creative effectiveness score gets leveraged by many of our clients when they are taking a critical decision for a go no go. But when I said this is a composite score, it's made up of different KPIs. Now, many of our clients say, okay, how do you come up? Because there are different KPIs over here, which you would see. There is a recall score, cognitive load, ad copy effectives. Okay, how is this ad platform actually going ahead and really working? Now, the way this platform works, and thanks to the cloud infrastructure, which is AWS, today, many of our clients, and till before Incivus, every client or every person you spoke to when it came to creative, they only had one data point on that creative, whether this creative is good or bad. But today, using the power of technology and using the power of AI and Gen AI, we've been able to go ahead and bring in many data points and build many data points on a single creative. And how do we do that? I'll share the secret sauce. We take any ad, in this case, it's a 20-second ad, roughly about 20 seconds. a 19.5 second you may call. We break this 19.5 second into half a second interval. So now I have 39 frames instead of 19.5 frames. So now I have 19.5 frames, and every pixel on that frame becomes a data point for me. When I say for me, for the platform. So now I have millions of data points on that one single creator, which is worth 20 seconds or close to 20 seconds. Now, using those data points, I am able to measure, when I say the platform is able to measure different measures which we have bought in. Now, these recall scores, cognitive scores, and ad copy scores is something which there is already an established work by MIT and many of the large academia where they have published work on how do you measure recall and cognitive load, but they have done research on general recall or general images and general videos. They had never done that for advertisement. We took those research papers and we've really gone ahead and analyzed, and we've configured these models. We've gone ahead and tested with a lot of human testing as well, and we've come up with these KPIs, and we've come up with these measurements which are now run by completely AI. So whatever you see here is completely AI. There is no human being. As I said, it's humanly impossible for somebody to go ahead and analyze millions of data points in a fraction of time. And that's what the AI allows us to do that. Now, in this case, the thumb rule, typically when you start talking to any advertisers, they would say that every first 15 seconds, and I'm just playing, and how can you blow it up and bring it down? The first 5 seconds of the ad should be really high. And we all know that with any platform, the first 5 seconds become critical, or first 30 seconds, depending upon the platform, you will skip the ad. So that first 5 seconds, especially this is YouTube and Meta, the first 5 seconds is very critical for this ad. And you would see that the recall is pretty high in the first 5 seconds. So that's why the recall score is being, but this is one of the parameter in recall. In addition to that, what we are also able to come up with is we are able to come up with peak moments and pit moments. What are peak moments and pit moments? Based on AI and based on all the training data which we have, we are also able to tell out of the 39 frames, which are the key frames here. And I'll talk a little bit more about how our clients are using that and how do we use that when we have to go ahead and create new ads or create new content for our customers. Similarly, in this case, you can see out of the 40 frames, close to 40 frames, we have analyzed 16 frames. Now, if you, and I'm sure during Super Bowl, you might have seen, if you're from US, a lot of advertisers had created these movies. I would say Nike famous movie, which was almost close to 2 minutes, and a lot of other brands, they have created these 2 minute videos or almost like movies. They can't play this in Super Bowl for 2 minutes. If you ask them, okay, how did you pick up that 5 seconds or that 13 seconds or that 15-second spot which you got during Super Bowl? How did you cut it? How did you chop that and made that a 15 seconds? Most of them will say it's my gut or my creative team did that. They didn't have any data to prove and tell them which are the key frames and which frames had the maximum attention on the messaging on the product or the areas where they wanted to focus on. Using AI, today we are able to tell, and this is where we are helping many of our clients save money, not going back to reshooting of the ad, because it is an expensive proposition to shoot a 2 minute film if they have created an ad. We are able to tell them how effectively they can use this AI to really cut short those ads into smaller chunks. And one more interesting thing I'll be able to show you that as I'm playing this ad, and I hope the internet helps me here, you can see the attention heat map coming on. Now, I or my team didn't sat and made this color coding on these attention heat maps. The platform is able to do, or the AI, which is backed up behind this, is able to do that completely on its own. There is no human being involved who's doing all of this. Typically, companies who would do these attention heat maps, they would have humans wearing these headsets which have cameras, or you will have an eye tracking system which is tracking their eye motions or their eye, where the eye is moving across the screen. The platform is able to do that automatically, as I said, in a fraction of time, and give them the answer whether the attention is going in the right place or not. And if you have any questions, please start posting them in the Q&A. I'll try to answer them as I go along. So that's the first piece. That's the first critical measure, which is the recall. The second is the cognitive load. In cognitive load, there are two critical measures which we measure. One is the design complexity and ad copy complexity. But remember, when I was talking about the global benchmarks, the industry benchmarks, or the brand or the category or the sub brand benchmarks, we do that at each and every KPI. Now, in this demo environment, you don't see it because it's not a live environment, but at each KPI, you're able to go ahead and see those KPIs. So you're able to quickly measure how good the ad is on all the parameters. Now, in design complexity, as an example, this ad is scored low because there's too much going on. And what we mean by too much going on, if you look at it and there is science behind it, and there is behavioral science and there is neuroscience behind all of this, how many colors are we using in the ad? What are the different shapes, sizes, the transitions, the messaging around that? How easy it is for an eye to go ahead and process and the brain to go ahead and process those images. And the reason why we talk about cognitive load is, and the reason why cognitive load is important, because people need to remember this ad. Is this ad going to be memorable or no? And if the cognitive load is at a right optimal level, people will be able to remember those ads. People will be able to remember whether this ad, and if you ask them after 30 minutes or 2 days or 10 weeks, people will remember these ads because your ad was optimally configured. Like many people are talking about Nike ad, which has been published, because if you look at the messaging and if you look at the simplicity and if you look at the color schemes and all, they have really toned it down and they have really made it simple. And that's why everybody's talking about the Nike ad as an example, because the design complexity is at a much lower place. Same way with the ad copy complexity in this case, where we talk about call to actions, offers. Was it simple? Was it clear? The messaging which was there, was it clear? All of that. That's the idea of cognitive load, which is the other key measure which we measure. The ad copy effectiveness goes a little bit deeper into three sub measures, which is persuasiveness, whether your ad copy was persuasive enough, which and the messaging was persuasive enough to enhance the ad copy outcomes. And that's why that's one of the critical measures. Text readability, often than not, it's neglected. You will find ads, and typically you would find ads in financial ads where at the end of it, the person will read the warnings, or if it's a medical ad or a pharmaceutical ad, they will read those warnings pretty quickly. If you do that, people are not going to remember. So there is a science behind it, how many words per 3 seconds you need to have. Ideal benchmark is 12. In this case, it was 11. So it was a good ad, right? But the text contrast, the font visibility, similarly, the attention on the specific message and where the ad copy is, how good the attention is. So these are again sub measures when it comes to ad copy effectiveness. The other piece is brand compliance. Now, if it was a real customer, if it was P&G had given their brand compliance, and Prachi also spoke about ensuring that we are able to keep the brand aesthetics in the right check. Are we able to measure that effectively? We are able to do that here. We are just not going to measure or detect whether your logo was present or no, but was your brand colors done right? Did you all hold to your brand guidelines? The other piece is, did you all hold to the tone of voice, which is your brand guidelines, which is part of your brand guidelines? Was it measured or not measured? And definitely whether the platform is able to measure the logo, and did you use the right logo and the right size, which is one of the other key measures as part of brand guidelines. The other interesting piece is which we measure emotions. And when we measure emotions, we are measuring emotions on 5 different levels. One emotion we measure is on face, which if there is a protagonist in the ad, what are the emotions there? The music, the text, as well as the color. And we go deeper into this. It's not just at a high level. And the reason why this is a radial chart, because if your ad was at the bottom of the funnel where you want to activate the individual to go ahead and purchase or really engage with your brand, and you're not trying to create more awareness, but it's more on the activation side. But if you look at the emotions this ad is creating, it's creating in the dimension of pleasant and deactivate. Was that the intention of your ad? Was that the intention you wanted the ad to be at? That's again a question which you can ask your creative teams who are in the process of creating these ads. But the idea of when we talk about music, we can measure the genre, we can measure the mood, we can measure the different emotions of the ad also. And these are all standard measures of emotions and mood, which we are able to measure through the music which is there in the ad. We are not creating any music here, but we are just analyzing the music. We can create music using AI or Gen AI, but here specifically, we are just analyzing the music. We are also able to measure the color emotions using the color boards which are there as part of the ad, as well as we are able to measure the ad copy effectiveness, so that we just launched this feature, so that's why you see a blurb there. And last but not the least, this is also an important measure for many of our clients. If we had to play this ad in an airport without sound, whether people, and especially for people who are hard to hear or they can't see color, is this ad optimized for those individuals as well from a digital accessibility? So we are able to measure that. And in interest, we are also able to measure the color contrast. One interesting thing is, while the logo is good, logo is placed right, but if you look at the foreground and the background of the logo versus the background, it was not gelling well. It was getting mixed together. So that's something which we are able to track. Now, this is all about the report. And we are able to benchmark this based on the outcome. If you give me, or with many of our clients we work with, we are able to go ahead and quantify. We are able to tell them, if you improve these KPIs, this much lift you can see in the outcomes of your ads also. So this is not just an analysis paralysis platform. It is also able to provide recommendation. In addition, today, many of my clients, when we work with, they say, hey, we do A/B testing. I said, yes, you do A/B testing, but that comes at a cost. So let's say if there are these two ads which you have created for that same product, and you want to launch it and you want to test it quickly, you will end up spending money on the platform to go ahead and test and find out a winner, which ad is going to be working, or which ad is going to yield the maximum result based on the outcome. But here within the platform itself, you saw I just selected two ads, and you can actually test those ads immediately. Let's say if you have also gone ahead and bought in certain competition ads, and you want to go ahead, and I'm just taking an example of Procter and Gamble. I just don't want to fall into trouble of picking up some other ad. But let's say if there are ads which Procter and Gamble have, and let's say if this was a third ad which Procter and Gamble didn't have, and you want to go ahead and bring it here, you can actually start bringing your competition ads, and we can actually start benchmarking, and you can start driving that very effectively within the platform. And let's say these were, one ad is your competition and one is your ad, and you want to compare it, you can quickly start doing a comparison here, that if there is an ad, let's say the famous rivalries which between two brands, one has launched an ad and you want to launch another ad, you want to see how good your creative is, you can actually test it here without spending any money or doing any market research and getting things done. And I told the team I'm very passionate of this platform, and I can keep on presenting more, and I can keep on going deeper. But this is just a quick glimpse of where we are and how deep the platform can get, and how we use the power of AI to go deeper. Prachi, if you can, sorry, Isha, if you can bring the slides up?
And while I do that, there are a few questions, Anis, if you want to quickly take. Yeah.
I think the first one I did answer, that can we benchmark our ads against our industry peers through the feature I just shared. You can actually do that. So I have answered that. So I've marked it as answer. At what stage does AI powered add measurable returns? So if you go back to Prachi's the value chain which she had presented. Now let's say if you are starting today, and I'll be selfish here and I'll say, if you're starting with Incivus and you say, hey, we don't know what's working and not working in our creative space, we can look at your past 500,000 or 100 ads even, and we can clearly tell you, based on all your historical ads, what is working and not working, and what you should be doing, and what kind of lifts you can expect. So within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that's the answer we can give you immediately. Or today, if you load an ad, and within 2 hours, I can tell you if your ad is going to work or not work. So that's how quick we can give you the result. Now, the other question is it beneficial for high budget campaigns? The answer is no. You can actually go ahead, and even if you have $1,000 budget, let's say if it's a display ad, it's $1,000, and you're a small company and you don't have that much of money, and you want to test $1,000, the amount of money we ask to spend is negligible, right? And we are conscious that using AI, we can really save cost. And we have done that for many of our clients. The amount of money you have to spend even on $1,000 ad, if you have to really test. And you're right, I don't know who the person who's asked this question, that today a lot of money gets spent on testing large high budget ads. On low budget ads, and Prachi, and I'm sure Chris, you all see that as well, where your high budget ads, there's a lot of testing, a lot of hoo-ha, but a lot of day-to-day campaigns, they're just getting launched, nobody's testing them, right? Which happens and I've seen that happening with many other different clients. You can quickly test it here within 2 hours and in a cost economical way, and just get the answers pretty quickly. So I hope I answered. If there's a follow-up question, I can have that. So how do we adapt in real time? See, because of our, and I would really would like to thank AWS. They are innovating at a much more rapid pace here, and they are releasing a lot of newer features. We are keeping a check of all the new papers and science which is being launched. When it came to the other question which somebody has asked is how we are able to adapt Incivus in real time. See, if somebody tells you that today their platforms are able to adapt in real time, the answer is no. And Prachi and Chris and James, you can keep me honest here. We also have a product lifecycle. We have a product release. We also continuously monitor. And please remember that most of the Gen AI models are still, many of them are still in its native state, right? Going ahead and making it part of the platform, it will be stupid for us to do that, right? Because many of our brands are relying on the validation part, whether the outcomes or the recommendations which we are giving is right or wrong, and it will lead to challenges if we are give them a wrong answer. So we test, there is a thorough testing which we do. We evaluate these models, whether these are Anthropic models, whether these are OpenAI models, or any of these models or other small language models which exist. We go ahead and test them very effectively, and AWS allows us to test these models using Bedrock or SageMaker, so that we are able to go ahead and ensure that whatever we bring in new feature sets, they are live. Real time is a misnomer, but I would say yes, we have a product, but we are able to quickly wrap it. If you had asked me about the feature sets in Incivus about a year back, you would see only 2 or 3. Now, if you look at the feature sets which we have, is far more exponentially increased, and it is because of the technology advancement, and we are able to do that. There are more more questions here. I'll try to go ahead and answer them, but let me just quickly go through the case studies quickly. So these are some case studies. I'm not going to go ahead and read them. I'm sure people on the call or on the webinar, they are able to read them. But I would just say our clients approach these problems in many different scenarios. They don't look at it, they're saying, hey, this is one use case, I want to go ahead and drive that. Many of our clients are saying, can you help us? As I said, help us the initial optimization, or can you go ahead and we have some immediate campaigns to launch, can you help us to understand what were some of the past campaigns, can we reuse, are they still relevant, and can we make it happen? There are these examples, and because C5i focuses on business impact, we really hone in on how can we drive business impact for our clients, and we've been able to drive that for many of our clients. And just to sum it up in from an outcome, if you have to look at it, Isha, if you can go on to the next slide. These are some of the outcomes which we've been able to drive. By the way, just as a surprise for everyone, we launched Incivus last year in April. We've been working on it for 3 years, but we didn't launch it day one and said, hey, this is beta or MVP. We launched it in April. And in the last 1 year, we've been able to achieve a lot. And the kind of feature sets which and the kind of outcomes we've been able to drive for clients. I would say we still think like a startup, but we work like a large company because we are part of a large company, and we are able to scale and bring in a lot of new capabilities on a day-to-day basis. Isha, with that, should we just focus on Prachi and team? Should we just focus on the questions which have been asked? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
And I
think
know
that'll
we're almost on
be,
time.
there are some
Yeah,
interesting questions. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add, Prachi, while you answer, if there are any questions that go unanswered, please feel free to send your queries on the email ID on the slide. We'll definitely get back to you with some answers and some interesting conversations. Yeah, over to you, Prachi.
there's a fourth question. So I'll just mark which ones I've done. These insights are great, but how I, as a marketer, use them to optimize ads without losing the creative spark that makes my campaign stand out. This is a question which we often get asked. Our objective is for you not to be mechanical, and the ads need not be mechanical, right? And there is this misnomer also that all our ads which we are going to publish are going to get the Cannes Festival awards. If you have to ask brands that all the ads they have launched, how many of them have even got Cannes Festival? Let's say if they have spent $500 million on an ad, or $1 billion was their campaign budget, how many of them have got a Cannes Festival award? Or like the Nike ad, if you just look at Nike ads, the amount of ads they might have got, this one has got a lot of attention, right? Now, is that necessary that all of those benchmarks have? And I can tell you, and I can assure you, Nike ad was not even benchmarked. They are not my customer, by the way, but I can tell you they are not benchmarked by us, right? Or I would say it's a fine balance. Like one of the question was, should I go ahead and use my low budget campaigns? That's another value proposition some of our clients are saying. Hey, we spend a lot of money, a lot of attention on these large format campaigns, but on the mid to low, we don't have any attention, no measurement, no benchmark. In fact, I would recommend use a platform like AI to go ahead and scale and drive that benefit, right? At least that's my recommendation. I don't know, Prachi, if you have an answer to that, but that's something which I would say.
No, I definitely second that. Yeah.
I didn't understand this next question. Anything on the generation part based on insights and reports? So I showed an example actually where we are able to identify keyframes. We are able to identify where the attention is going. So let's say if we find in a pre-testing that the attention is not coming on the product or on the logo, or the logo is misread, or the text which is there is not right, we are able to go ahead and correct that before the ad goes live, as an example, using our technology, using our AI. So that's again an example of that. The other piece which is there, which is the other question, is the heat map shows viewers focus visually, but how can a marketer use this insight to guide storytelling and emotional connection? I would say that's the idea of that attention heat map, that it is able to tell you whether the attention was supposed to be on this protagonist. We have seen so many ads of digital influencers, or you have paid money to a celebrity. Did the attention really go onto that celebrity, or was it on the product, or vice versa? The attention was going so much on the celebrity that the product was forgotten, the message was forgotten, because there was so much of attention on the celebrity itself. And we've seen that time and again with so many ads, that the attention is too much on the celebrity and not on the product itself. And you've completely lost the product. But you spend $1 million or more than that on that celebrity, as an example. And that's the idea of emotional connection and storytelling. I know we are almost on time, and some people on
I
the
was just
call
going to
want to.
say we're on top of the hour and there are a couple of more questions, Anis. Maybe we can get back to them. Our team, please definitely send these queries on the email ID. We'd love to continue the conversation with you guys. Thanks. I'd like to thank all the panelists. I think it was a very engaging, insightful discussion. Definitely the demo was, I'm sure it would help a lot of users to understand how they can optimize their ad campaigns. Okay, great. So we'll close the webinar now. Thanks everyone for joining.